detoxify your mind. Can you please explain to me how a mind can be toxic? In what ways?
Waking up every single morning, loving what you do, loving the people you surround yourself with, loving the connections you're doing, loving the environment you're creating, loving what you're writing, loving where you're going, loving the conversations that you're having, loving the way you look, loving the way you eat, loving the way you take care of yourself, right? That's fulfillment. You know what? Once I make up my mind on something, I do it. Nothing's gonna stop me. Once I make a decision, I'm a person of my word. One of my laws is my word is my law. Like the 4 agreements, be impeccable with your word. So I'm impeccable with myself. I told myself I was gonna do it, so I did it.
I have great respect for that. That's amazing because most people can't do that. Boom, we're live.
Exciting.
Melitsa, you come from quite a humble background, and now you're doing a radio show. You write a best-selling book, which is here. You're serial entrepreneur. You're running events, epic talks, right? And you do coachings. Mm-hmm. Please tell me a little bit more about that. Like what do you actually teach there?
Well, I actually decided to go full-time 100% with my events. I recently left the coaching part. I was doing one-on-one coaching with my clients and helping them basically take their business and their life to the next level. They told me where they were at, and then and where they wanted to be, and I would give them the roadmap on how to get there. I would help them to detoxify their mind, their life, and their business. And that's what I did for a while before I went full-time with Epic Talks.
Thanks. I'd like to understand detoxify your mind. Can you please explain to me how a mind can be toxic? In what ways?
Oh my God, there's so many ways that your mind could be toxic. You know, we carry generational trauma, right? And we have these limiting beliefs and these paradigms that we've been living in for so many years. And this is the reason why majority of the humans live in so much pain, because they carry this generational trauma and they don't know how to get out of it, right? And with these certain behaviors, they create their own pain in their lives, whether it's in their business, whether it's in their relationships, whether it's with their family, because they don't know any better. So before I wrote this book, I was in one of the darkest places of my life. And I remember going through this dark path after my marriage of 10 years had ended. My ex-husband of 10 years, he had cheated on me with over 5-6 women that I know of. And this all happened in a really short time frame. So you can only imagine the trauma that caused. You know, I felt like I was going crazy. I spent my entire 20s with him. And then towards the end, I lost my identity when that happened. And I was refusing to get back into something like that, into a marriage, or forgive him. Or, you know, even though he begged, even though my family was like telling me to go back, I just didn't get it. So for me, I ended up escaping. Like I left him with everything, and I ended up moving to another state. And I literally became a person that I didn't know who I was. I was partying, I was doing drugs, I was hanging out with the wrong people for 2 years, you know, and that was my way of coping. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I couldn't even get out of bed. I would look at the ceiling for 4 hours in my bed, like numb, and I didn't know who I was. So after feeling this awful pain and just becoming someone I wasn't proud of, I remember I looked at myself in the mirror and I asked myself one question. I said, "Are you proud of the woman that you've become?" And I said it out loud. And I said, "No." "So what are you going to do about it?" And that same day, I saw an ad on Facebook that said, "Reignite your life, your finances, and your future. Free ticket."
Okay.
So I was like, free ticket, this must be a cult. And I reached out to a girlfriend of mine. I don't know if you know her. She's a motivational speaker, Alexi Panos and Preston Smiles. They're like an amazing motivational couple. And I said to her, "Have you ever heard of this company called Peak Potentials?" She's like, "No." And I was like, "Well, it's personal development and it's a free ticket. You think I should go?" She tells me, "If there's one positive thing you get out of this, it's a win situation." So I booked my hotel and my plane ticket, and I went to Los Angeles for 3 days. And those 3 days changed my life. Did I end up investing $6,500 at the end of the seminar? Yes.
Yes.
But that was the best investment I've ever done in my life. I ended up spending 2 years in personal development, going to different events and seminars every 2 to 3 months that this company was hosting. Business development, mindset, warrior camp, real estate, business boot camp. And I started meeting people.
Is it like the T. Harv Eker thing?
Yes.
You know, I went there too.
Yes.
Like, it was called Quantum Leap back then. And I went to
That's
Warrior
what I bought.
Camp. And
that's what I bought
too.
Like. Oh my God. yeah. So that
was like 2009 for me when I did that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I did mine, I think it was 7 years ago. 8 years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I ended up, obviously I don't have to explain to you.
all of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So that changed my life. And I remember that the people that were going there, we were on just the same level. So I no longer was partying. I no longer was hanging out with the wrong people. This was my tribe. People who wanted to elevate, people who wanted to get to the next level of their life. So when I left Las Vegas, because at the time I had moved to Las Vegas, I came back to Miami and I said, if this changed my life, this personal development, I need to be of service and owe it to God for me to create something that's going to help change people's lives. Because at the time I was in medical sales, right?
Yeah.
So, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So then I was like, how can I start being of service? So I started a little charity called Backpack Attack, where I would get backpacks for underprivileged kids, fill it up with, school supplies, socks, toothbrush, soaps, and all that stuff. I started giving it to homeless people as well, backpacks full, and it was fulfilling me. And I remember feeling fulfilled. So then that gave me the idea to start a program called Detoxify Your Mind. I want to teach people how to detoxify their mind, how to be able to get out of a dark place like I was to a better place. And then from that grew the idea of my event, Epic Talks. I was going over the bridge in Brickell, and I remember I was feeling empty. I was feeling alone. I was feeling sad. I wasn't connecting with people like high performers or people that wanted to create greatness in their life. So I said to myself, if it doesn't exist, I'm going to start it. If it doesn't exist, I'm going to start it. So I reached out to a girlfriend of mine. Her name is Alicia Belchenko. She's a law professor at the University of Miami. She's used to speaking in front of students, right? I had never spoken in my life. So I said to her, hey, if I throw an event, will you be one of my speakers? She's like, sure. So I went on Canva. I took a picture of her and a picture of myself. I made my first little flyer. I went to FedEx. I printed out 100 flyers. Then I went all over downtown in Brickell in my buildings and passed them out. From the moment that seed was planted to the day that I had my first event was 3 days.
Wow. That's fast action.
Yes. So I went to Whole Foods. I got a couple bottles of wine, some cheese and crackers, and I waited. 15 people showed up to my first event. 8 of those people were my friends. So in reality, 7 people showed up. I actually have a picture of my first event. But I remember in that moment, when I was sharing my story, I felt that was my calling. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I felt alive. I was giving these people, we had doctors, a couple of doctors, an architect, an attorney, and then a couple other entrepreneurs and people that just walked in, right? And I was giving them exercises. Everybody was writing down a couple of exercises, like, what does your perfect day look like? What do you want to accomplish in the next month? What do you want to accomplish in 6 months? I took them through a journey of meeting their future self, right? What are you going to tell your future self, right? What advice are you going to give them? And when I was doing that, I felt this energy that I just knew that this is what I'm supposed to do forever. And then that's when I took Epic Talks, and 2-3 months later, I had another event. I connected with one of the influencers here. My second event, I had 120 people, and just Epic Talks has never been the same again.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's like an amazing success story. Initially, you were talking about generational trauma. Can you please define what that is?
Yeah. So generational trauma is is unhealed trauma from our ancestors.
So you're saying that if like someone's grandmother or grandfather or great grandfather had like some kind of trauma, be it physical or...
So you notice how when men or women they hit their spouse, they saw their parents doing that. Their parents saw their parents doing that. You know what I mean?
Often,
yeah. So majority of the people, we're in the small 1% of people that understand what personal development and emotional intelligence is. We've done the work, we do the work, we know what it's about, we write books about it. It's a very small percentage of the world that knows about this stuff. People don't know that there is systems and support systems and emotional intelligence academy and personal development courses to help take your life to the next level and heal what you have. Majority of people outside of our world, if you go and ask someone, do you know who Tony Robbins is? They don't know. They don't. So this is what I mean. It's very few people that actually get the help to break generational trauma. Majority of people just continue carrying that on into their kids. They teach their kids what they were taught. And then they don't know any better. So that's what generational trauma is. You continue to carry on the traumas from your ancestors until it gets healed.
How do you know if you're generationally traumatized? I mean, I suppose everyone is.
Yes.
But how can I find that out if that's
what are your triggers?
Triggers? Like me personally?
Well,
like when I get uneasy, I become uncomfortable when, like, for example, when I don't get what I want. That kind of triggers me.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel it. I just feel.
You know.
I just feel.
Just continue asking yourself why. Where in your childhood, right? Did you not get what you wanted?
As a child, always. I never got what I wanted as a child. So and that's like makes me angry.
Would it affect you? Who else in your family would it affect? Your father? Was he that way, or your mother? When they wouldn't.
They both. Like my parents did not have much money, so they could not buy me the nice stuff that my friends got from their parents. So I was always the child that did not get what he wanted, like for Christmas or for anywhere. Like I almost like at least at some point I got a computer because I became really good at sales. And I sold my mother, she's a Korean mother. So Korean mothers want their children to succeed at school and university and life in general. So I sold her the idea that if she buys me a computer, that will make me rich later. Because I'm going to make a lot of money with a computer and you can't make money without a computer in the future. I was like, I sold her the idea. But before that, I never got what I really wanted. Like as toys and stuff like that.
Amazing. And that's extremely traumatizing because I went through the same thing, which is the only reason why you are as successful as you are is because you went through that. Because if you were given everything, I can guarantee you wouldn't be here right now.
Well, that's the problem of rich kids, right? Like all these rich kids, I like to be in VIP areas of music festivals and clubs sometimes. And then I see these Chinese kids and they're like throwing dollars everywhere, like on music festivals. And it's like, and I know that, okay, these kids are very rich. I mean, it's common knowledge that on music festivals like Ultra Miami, like the front row, like the most expensive tables are just Chinese people. And they're like extremely rich Chinese people. And these are usually kids, like in their early 20s or something like that. They're just throwing around money. And I'm like, how can they ever learn to work hard? Like how
they will never learn.
They will never learn.
But guess what? That's also their trauma.
Is that a trauma?
Yeah. Of course they have trauma. They don't, eventually that kind of lifestyle is going to cause them pain. There's no fulfillment in that.
Yeah. There's no fulfillment.
Yes.
Mick Jagger actually you know, the guy, like the singer from Rolling Stones, from the band, he actually wrote a song about that. I can get no satisfaction.
Yes, I can't get
no. And he really described this thing that, you know, he's a rock star, and no matter what he does, no matter how famous he is, like, he can get no satisfaction.
Because it's a life without fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach, is fulfillment. When I was doing my one-on-one coaching, helping people find their purpose in life.
But how can I be fulfilled? How does that work from your perspective?
There's so many ways. What sets your heart on fire? You know, what would you wake up to do for free for the rest of your life?
Basically, the thing I'm doing now.
Exactly.
Basically, being an entrepreneur, building fun stuff, building software as a service, building.
Would you say that
company.
You find yourself as someone who's fulfilled?
Almost.
Yeah.
Because but I'm never there. But I'm like, if I didn't do that, I would be unfulfilled. At least this is what I know. Yeah. But I'm not exactly fulfilled yet at the same time, because I think I always think, oh, I could do better. Yeah. It's not perfect. It's not good enough. It's not perfect.
You're always chasing, because that's just the hunter in you. You're an alpha. You know what I mean? For me, I feel the same way, but I live a life of fulfillment because I love what I do. You can be fulfilled, but not always be like, you can be fulfilled and continue chasing. That doesn't mean that you're not fulfilled. You know what I mean? For me, fulfillment is waking up every single morning, loving what you do, loving the people you surround yourself with, loving the connections you're doing, loving the environment you're creating, loving what you're writing, loving where you're going, loving the conversations that you're having, loving the way you look, loving the way you eat, loving the way you take care of yourself, right? That's fulfillment, you know?
I can't say I love everything, because sometimes it's quite hard. And sometimes, you know, like, I love my company, Digistore24, and I love to see the effect of it in the world, the impact of it in the world. I love the fact that we have 1.6 million user accounts, and like, I guess like 20-30% of them are really active. I love the fact that we're global and that that I get to meet amazing people like you. But at the same time, there's a lot of things, a lot of work that's really, that's really just not fun, but I still anyway have to do it for the sake of the greater. So
why wouldn't you give that work to someone else?
I do, but I'm ultimately responsible for it, so I still have to engage with it. So I do it the best I can, but there's always like, like it's like going to the gym. Like with me, like the toughest part is the part before being in the gym and working out. When I'm working out, then it's always fun and I always feel great afterwards. And meanwhile, but before that, I go through hell and I don't know why.
Getting yourself there?
Yeah. And like, because usually it's early in the morning, so I have to wake up earlier, and it sucks. And
you got to just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just do it. Trust me, like, I'm not a fan of waking up first thing in the morning, go to the gym, but you have to, for your sanity, so you could feel better about yourself.
You actually competed. You're an athlete.
I competed. Yes, I did. I competed 3 years ago. Yeah, 3-4 years ago. In
the bikini class, or exactly?
Bikini. NPC bikini. Yes.
Please tell me all about it. I find it very interesting.
It was a fun experience. It was a fun experience. A lot of discipline. A lot of taking your meals with you everywhere. Like, let's say if I was competing right now and I was having this interview, I've already been here, 2 hours? I would have had to bring 3 meals with me, because you have to.
3 meals.
Yeah, you have to eat every 2 hours. The 4 ounces, the 2 ounces, the little bit of asparagus. It's all about the way you eat. And I remember when I competed, it was right after Thanksgiving. So I literally went to a Thanksgiving dinner, turkey, food, everything. And I had my 2 ounces of tilapia, my 2 ounces of spinach, and my 2 ounces of sweet potato. And that's what I was eating. But I remember in that moment, I was already so in it to win it that it didn't faze me.
Why did you start? Why did you want to do that in the first place? Like, what motivated you?
It was more like a challenge. My ex-boyfriend at the time, he had a patient that was like, oh, I'm going to get into a fitness competition. So he's competed already and he's won as well. But he was like, oh, I'm going to do it with my patient. And I said, oh, I'll do it. And he's like, he didn't think I was going to do it because I'd never competed in my life. So anyways, long story short, his patient ends up competing. He ends up not doing it. And then I just stayed with it, right?
So, excuse me, his patient?
His patient.
Okay, what kind of patient was that?
He was a doctor.
But what kind of illness?
Oh, no. So he's a lifestyle medicine doctor. So
a lifestyle medicine.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's a concierge.
Okay.
So you know, cool. Like IVs, hormone therapy,
and
like
this is the stuff that I do. That's cool.
So then so I ended up doing it, and when I completed it, he's like, I honestly didn't think you were gonna do it. So it was more like oh yeah, you're gonna do it. It was more me keeping my word.
Okay.
You know? So
wow.
Yeah.
So so for how long did that take? Like
I prepped for 5 months.
You prepped for 5 months.
Yes.
And how long did you work out like before you decided to compete?
Like 3 to 4 times a week. I wasn't strict about my eating. I wasn't, you know.
But you were working out regularly for how long?
I mean, for years now.
For years.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And I mean, this is a very extreme experience because yes. you're losing a lot of fat. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to lose a lot of water.
Yeah.
So it's not like competing in other sports where you are kind of like still normal physically and you just have to compete. It's like it's an extreme thing. I mean, some people even collapse or die because they mess with electrolytes and stuff. Because if you lose a lot of water, I listened to an interview with Dorian Yates the other day, and where he was talking about that, the Mr. Olympia.
Okay. Oh yeah.
You know, like very famous guy from England, and he said, okay, some people would die, you know, in the process of losing water and stuff like that. So it's very extreme. So you must have like just keeping a promise is like a bit weak, don't you think?
Just keeping a promise is a bit what? As
the only motivation. So like what got you through this extreme preparation?
You know what? Once I make up my mind on something, I do it. Nothing's going to stop me. Once I make a decision, I'm a person of my word. One of my laws is my word is my law, right? Like the 4 agreements, be impeccable with your word, right? So I'm impeccable with myself. I told myself I was going to do it, so I did it.
I have great respect for that. That's amazing. Because this is where most people can't do that. Most people, they say, okay, I want to lose weight, and then they don't. Or, I want to do my homework, and then they don't.
Yeah.
I want to learn this. Or for example, on my platform, people sell a lot of online courses, and most people actually, even if they buy the course, most of them don't even open the course. Mm-hmm. What do you think is wrong with those people? And in what way are you different? And how can they become different?
These are people that they don't want it bad enough. They don't believe in themselves. These are people that they're content with mediocrity. That's what happens, you know? And these are also people that are probably still carrying generational trauma. They're used to seeing their parents not complete things. They're used to being told you're not good enough. They're used to being told, oh, yeah. They listen to the wrong people. And that's why they're stuck in the same situation.
How can someone break out of that? Like, is there a way, if you don't want something enough, but you should want something enough, is there a way to
You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Right? It depends how much pain you're in. And sometimes some people take themselves to a place of pain, so much pain that they're almost suicidal to then make a change. But most people don't experience that kind of pain. You know? Yeah. Pain will lead you to change.
Yeah. In your own career, let's say your own past, you grew up as a foster child with parents that are heroin addict. What was that like for you personally, and what like how did you perceive this as a child?
It was traumatic, but in the moment, I didn't think of it as traumatic. I don't know if that makes any sense.
You thought it's normal, or how did you perceive
it? Was my normal. I didn't know any better. I didn't know that it could be better. It was my normal, you know? So it's crazy because people ask me, oh, do you remember as young as 3 years old? I do. Why? Because it was traumatic. Waking up to my parents high on the couch, to my little sister crying, to my older brother crying, we're hungry. And I remember at 3 opening up my fridge. Maybe I was 3.5, opening up my fridge and there was no food. I also remember the cops knocking in the doors to come and get us, you know? I remember going into different foster homes, and I used to suck my thumb when I was little. So I remember there was a foster home that took me in, and they didn't like that I did that. And on a night to fall asleep, that was my way to comfort myself. So I would suck my thumb. And they grabbed a pair of scissors and they took my thumb like this and squeezed it and threatened to cut it off. And it was just terrifying, you know, for a young kid. So yeah, that was part of my process. And then I went into another foster home. And I don't look at this as poor me. I wouldn't change anything. I'm so grateful that I went through those experiences, because I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't gone through it. If I would have had that cookie cutter lifestyle, I wouldn't be who I am today. If I wouldn't have gone through those experiences, I wouldn't have the heart that I have. I have a really big heart for helping people that are in pain, for helping people that don't feel that they're loved, for helping people that want to commit suicide. I've been there, you know? So I wouldn't change it for the world.
I see. Like, so, okay, so that was kind of your normal, but what did you think at that point in time? Did you judge it in any way? Because everyone, like all of us, interpret things and think like, okay, this is wrong or right, or what did that do with you in that very moment? Like
I felt scared.
Yeah.
You know, I felt scared. I didn't trust. I remember my foster, when I got to the foster family that had me for 12 years, I remember when they would pick me up and I would smell them and tell them that they stunk to put me down. Put me down, you stink. and that was my way of rejecting, because I'm scared, like strangers just grabbing you and putting you on their lap, you know. Thankfully, I was never sexually abused, thank God. Yeah. And then the foster family that took me in for 12 years, they were Christians, so they did instill a lot of morals and values that I still live by. So I'm thankful for that, you know, that I grew up as a Christian. But I didn't have an easy childhood with them either. But it didn't affect me so much when I was 4, 5, 6, 7. It started affecting me more when I started to getting into my teenage years.
Mm-hmm. What happened in your teenage years?
I got a lot of rejection from my sisters and from my foster mom. I almost felt like I was Cinderella, you know. They would make me clean the house and do all these chores, and when the cat would kill rats, like they would go and make me clean it up. So, you know, and it got to a point where I started hating them. you know?
The parents or the sisters?
Everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was just like, that's when I started experiencing, and then I started getting into sports, and I started becoming athletic and looking prettier, and you know what I mean? And like, they wouldn't let me wear certain clothes, and I started like really fighting with my sisters. And then, it was just like, I tried to commit suicide twice when I was 12 and 13 years old. My foster mom, she had a Down syndrome sister, and they would make me take care of her. She used to pee on my bed and like all that stuff. And it was just, that was really traumatic for me. And that was one of the reasons why, I was rejecting her sister, but they were also rejecting me, So then I ended up leaving. I was trying every way possible to try to leave that house.
At what age?
At 15. And I
15.
did.
Okay.
Yeah, I ended up leaving. So that for me was an escape, and I'm so happy. Now I have a relationship with them, even when I was 21, which I contacted them again, they even told me they were sorry for the way that they raised me. But I ended up leaving at the age of 15, and they were like, "You're going to come back?" I'm like, "I'm never coming back."
I love how you said that.
I'm never coming back. So, but yeah, and then I even got kicked out of high school when I was 17, 18 years old, and told by my principal I would never amount to anything. And
excuse me, you were 15.
Yeah.
So where did you go then, like being 15?
So I ended up looking for my biological mother.
Okay.
So I found her, and we stayed in touch. I ended up living with her for a little bit, but then I left her house too, because there was a lot of trauma, there was a lot of resentment. So I was fighting with her, and then she got married, and at the time I wasn't happy with that. So I ended up pretty much on my own, living with friends that had an extra room in high school, and their parents would let me stay there. So I would go from house to house, different houses, until I finally got a job, and then was able to buy a car. And then I started living out of my car.
Wow.
So
at what age?
I was like 18.
18.
Yeah.
And how was that, like, living in a car?
I would live out of my car, but then I would also have like friends that I would go to their houses for a couple days and stuff like that. And for me, again, it was just normal. Like it was scary, but it was outside of a Walmart parking lot, and I parked my car underneath a light, because I knew there was a camera there, so in case anything happened. So, and then I used to work, this was in Orlando, so I used to work in Disney in one of the hotels over there. So I would go to their hotels and their employee, and a shower, and then I would have 3 jobs sometimes. And yeah, it's kind of adventurous. So
you had jobs, but you still had to live in the car.
Yeah, because I wasn't making enough until I was able to save up some money and get an apartment.
That's very interesting. And so was there any, like, so obviously you made a very nice career as an entrepreneur. Like, what happened, like, from having those jobs and living in the car? What led you to become an entrepreneur?
Oh my God. Pretty much every job I've ever had, I got fired. Yeah, pretty much. I've never been one to like people telling me what to do. You know what I mean? I just never liked that. Never liked having a boss. And then I would always be late.
Thanks for coming punctual here tonight.
I was always late and just kind of, I was a good employee, but I just didn't like people telling me what to do. So,
and you didn't like people?
I love people.
You love people?
Oh, frick yeah. Okay. I love people. That's why I have events, networking events, to meet people. But yeah, I just went different jobs here. Like, I pretty much did everything: customer service, Bass Pro Shops, waitressing, bartending, like everything you can imagine. And, I I even tried out in the music industry for a while. I was a singer-songwriter.
Wow.
Yeah, I did the modeling thing for a little bit. And then in New York City, because I ended up moving to New York when I was 21, I got into the music industry for like a year. I didn't like it. It's not for me. And I ended up meeting my ex-husband. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm willing to give everything that I'm doing now to give this relationship a try. And I did that. So we ended up moving to Florida and started a life here.
I see. Yeah. But how did you become an entrepreneur? So you did all
at the age of 24. So
you were married at the age of 24, right?
Yes, at 24 I was married.
Third or fourth year of your marriage, right? Yeah. You worked in certain jobs in all kinds of industries.
I worked as a VIP waitress in some of the nightclubs in Miami as well. So that paid very well.
11 live?
No. This was like, we're talking about 15, 16 years ago.
All right.
But great living, 6 figures. And with that money, I started my first real estate company.
Real estate company.
Yes.
So as a broker or?
No, flipping houses, flipping properties. Yeah, the company was called Visual Investments. And at the time, those real estate shows of flipping houses was very popular, right?
Yeah. I still watch them. I love them.
Yeah, they're
renovating
great.
And flipping.
Yeah.
What's the name? They have like these cool names. Like there's always like this group in the reality show where they just go in and then they just flip the houses and they compare like the different people who
and the prices and the profit they flip houses like in 2 months.
Yeah.
So that's what we started doing, right? And I was like, oh my God, we're gonna be rich. I'm like 24 years old, like flipping houses, making money, I had an angel investor who would give us the money and we would just flip the properties and we'd split the profit. And I told my husband, he was a unique looking guy too. Like he had long hair like yours, like up to here. And I was like,
you have good taste, obviously.
I was like, we could totally be on a TV show. Let's film a pilot. Like, you know what I mean? So it was just like this whole idea and it was exciting at the time. But then within a split of like 6 months, that's when the real estate market collapsed here. It was like 2008.
Oh shit.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So that dream right there just went to shit. You know what I mean? We ended up losing. We had like a property that we had put all our money into, and we were still in the process of flipping it, and we just lost it all. So it was back to square one. So that's when I started another business and another business, and then in the process, like our relationship took a big hit, and once that happened, you heard the story. I went through a dark circle, and then that led me to this.
Was the relationship affected because of what went on in business?
No.
Like
the relationship was affected because someone was weak.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So what then got you to the place where you're now? Like, okay, you started all kinds of businesses, and what happened with them?
So I had started those businesses because of money. Yeah. It wasn't my calling. You know what I mean? That's why now I know that I'm living in my purpose, because the business I started was called The Pro Stylist, then it was called Hair Society, then it was called Izaku. And these were all businesses that I know with the right partnerships, I would become a extremely wealthy person. Yeah. I didn't have the right partners with me. Then that's when that failed. I got into medical sales, created a very successful career doing that. And then from there, that's when I ended up basically starting the personal development journey. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, there's a lot of people selling personal development stuff. Yes. What, in your opinion, makes you unique?
My story.
Yeah, your story.
There's a lot of people that are selling bullshit right now, to be honest with you. And there's a lot of people that are not authentic and not really doing it for the right reasons. Yeah. There are very few people that are doing it for the right reasons. A lot of people out there are just doing it for the money and ripping people off and taking advantage, what makes me different is my story and my authenticity. And you can't preach something you haven't lived.
Yeah. You're very authentic. And also the fact that you competed also shows that you developed this character that, like an athlete character that is strong, and you can overcome difficulties. Because that's what really, in my opinion, kind of like is when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's just, for me, entrepreneurship it's just a way of expressing yourself and living your purpose. And you might find that being an employee, if you can be with the right company, but sometimes you can't find that, and then you have to create it yourself. What from your perspective is like, are some like 3 important things that an entrepreneur has to be, like, character wise or mindset wise, in order to be able to become successful? Because so many people are trying it. I see it all the time. And so few people are succeeding, actually.
Yeah. Consistent, focused, determined, and impeccable with your word. Consistent,
focused,
determined, and impeccable with your word.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are your projects that you're currently focusing on? So you're focusing on your events. Please tell me a little bit more about those.
So Epic Talks is the #1 entrepreneurship business networking event in South Florida. It's a monthly event with anywhere from 100 to 150 entrepreneurs, driven, amazing individuals that come and collaborate, network, build relationships, and they come to learn. Every month, I bring in amazing speakers that teach us on different topics: real estate, marketing, NFTs, blockchain, crypto, wealth creation, finance, fitness. So every month it's different. So you'll never get the same event back to back. And along with that, I recently launched the Epic Talks Inner Circle. So Inner Circle is a yearly membership for the Epic Talks community, where not only are they just coming to the events where you just network, it's a quick conversation, but the Inner Circle provides dinners, which is more one-on-one. Let's get to know each other in 3 hours. How can I support you? Where do you need help? And then I have them switch throughout the dinner to sit next to somebody they've never sat before.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's how you build relationships. Maybe I don't have somebody that I can that you need to meet, that I can introduce you to, but that other person might have the person that you want to meet. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we also, with the Inner Circle, we also have adventures. So jet skiing, bowling, Topgolf. Eventually I want to create retreats. And also, for being part of the Inner Circle, I have an Epic Talks magazine that's coming out, where people get to showcase their business. What does this all mean? What does the Inner Circle mean for people's businesses and for their brand? More visibility, more traffic, new connections, new and repeat business. So it's all about them. And also, as a part of the Inner Circle, you also get to be interviewed on my radio show with thousands of listeners, and content, for your social media. Content is king, right? So yeah, it's an amazing community of high performers that are taking their lives to the next level, and we're doing it together.
Okay, that's pretty cool. If I may ask, what's your actual business model there? So how do you make money with that?
I charge at the door, and then I also charge for my memberships.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you thought about creating an NFT out of that stuff?
That's what you're going to help me.
Yeah.
No, I already spoke to Gianni about this last week, and he said he was going to, he had mentioned you should create your membership into an NFT. So I'm looking into that.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you seem to be very busy. Like how does a typical work day of yours look like?
I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I do a 10-minute meditation, a 5-minute gratitude, writing, journaling. I don't really look at my phone. I go have breakfast. I put on some like motivational speaking, or Dr. Joe Dispenza or Bob Proctor, or something that's going to get my mind in that state, in that winning mindset. Tim Grover. And then I have breakfast, and then I go to the gym. When I come back, it's probably like 8:00, and I just get ready, and I'll go either stay in my office downstairs in my apartment or go to WeWork, get some work done. I have a very balanced life. I'm not always, sometimes depend if it's my event week, I'm go. But I try to, kind of shut off at a certain time. And I don't really watch TV, so I don't spend a lot of time there. I go running in the afternoon. So yeah.
Do you have any like productivity tips or anything?
Productivity tips: prepare your day the night before. Wake up with intention. Like what is your intention for the day, and what are the top 3 things you want to accomplish? Don't give yourself more than 3 things to do. Because then you set yourself up for failure. Go to sleep early, get some rest, meditate. That's so important.
Why is meditation important?
You tap into this. What I've noticed with meditation is it just elevates me. It really does. You know what I mean? When you're just closing your eyes and you set your intention for the day. When I wake up in the morning and I'm meditating, I want to feel this way. I want to talk to 10 people. I want to ask them, how can I support them? I want to smile, open the door for someone, make somebody laugh, send a text message that's going to change someone's day today. Like text somebody and ask them, hey, do you need support with anything? Are you okay? Just giving. And that's my intention. And I set those intentions while I'm meditating, because it's what makes me feel good.
I see.
Yeah.
And so what do you actually personally need to be fulfilled? What
Peace of mind.
Happy? Peace of mind. And are you already there, or do you still think you have to do certain things to get there?
Oh, no, I'll never be there. Okay. I don't think you're ever fully there. You know what I mean? The beauty about life is it's this constant growth. Because once you get to that next level, then you continue. Okay, what's the next level? You got there, there's more. Then keep going, right? Unless you're like the Dalai Lama, you know what I mean? That's completely up there, right? I don't know if in this lifetime I'll get there. But yeah, it's about consistency and staying consistent with your self, your mind, your life.
I see. Your favorite book is Start With Why by Simon Sinek, right?
Actually, I love Start With Why. No, not anymore.
Not anymore.
No.
What's your new one?
I freaking love The 4 Agreements.
The 4 Agreements.
Yeah.
What are those?
Be impeccable with your word. Whatever you do your best. Don't take anything personal, and don't assume anything. So imagine you lived your life, right, with those 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. So whatever you say, you do, right? Don't take anything personal. You know how many problems we would avoid if we didn't take anything personal?
Yeah, it's actually something that I try to do all the time. This is what I tell myself at least 100 times per day. Like, this is not personal. This is not personal. Because, I get so many messages and some are not super nice. And, sometimes there's so many things that I could take personally and be insulted or something like that. But I choose not to, because it gives me more peace. It's like, it reduces my stress. Like a long time ago, I decided to not take things personally because, because reactions of other people, this is how I explain it to myself, whether it's accurate or not. Because reactions of other people are preformed by their experiences and beliefs and traumas within them. So it's more about them, what they do and not do, than about myself. So I just don't assume it really has anything to do with me.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's another thing. Don't assume anything.
Yeah, I don't assume.
You know,
I'm assuming
how much trouble
yeah.
you know how much trouble I've gotten myself into in the past because I just decided to assume. Well, I assumed. Well, don't freaking assume.
This is what women always do. They assume so much. It's crazy.
I know, right?
Especially when it comes to guys. We're sometimes just empty-headed and just not very. We don't pay too much attention sometimes because we can only focus on one thing because we're kind of retarded.
Yeah.
Which we are, like, compared to women, in my opinion. When it comes to multitasking, like, I'm so bad at that. If I drive and you talk to me, I cannot listen to you. If I, in university, it was like my best friend, Angela, back then, I went to medical school and I could not listen and write down what the professor said at the same time. I just couldn't do it. So I could listen and she would write everything down and she would give me her notes.
Yeah.
The good friend that she is. Otherwise, it would.
You definitely cannot multitask.
No, not even a bit. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
So, but yeah, women are good at assuming all kinds of things. And for us men, it's quite hard because we can't. Because if, for example, if I work, why didn't you think of me? Yeah, because it's not possible.
Yeah, I hear you.
But I can see you're a very passionate person.
Yes, I am.
You're very passionate.
Yeah.
And I think your temper is that like a challenge for you to control your temper?
Not at all, actually.
Not at all?
I'm very calm.
You're very calm.
Even in a relationship, I'm more like a guy.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, I'm not really the jealous type. I don't give shit. You know what I mean? I'm super cool. I'm like hanging out with one of the boys,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like the perfect woman.
Yeah, I am.
You are the perfect woman. Glad I met you, finally. Okay. So as a last question, if people want to learn more about you or read your book or follow you, how can they do that the best? How can people find you?
There's a couple of places that they can find me on Instagram, Melitsa Waage, Melitsa Waage. And then also melitsa.com, which is my website. Also, my Epic Talks events is epictalks.com, and the Instagram is Epic Talks Miami. Yeah.
Thank you, Melitsa. That was amazing. That was an epic talk. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Same.
Yep.
If you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and never miss an episode of Svencast again.